Alright, we are live checking my audio, video, and just making sure chat is open up. There we go. So we are live and super. Can you hear me? Give me a hi, hello in the chat. All right, there we go. Just a second. Great. All right. Super. Welcome to Unlocking Emotional Intelligence Through Brain Skills. And we are on 78th episode. We've crossed that 3/4. Just have a few more episodes to complete this 100-day series. And after which, you're going to be getting a lot of gifts. I think somebody has come online. Just telling them a hi, hello. If you're watching me online, give me a hi, hello in the chat. I have opened up the chat already. All right. So if you have any questions, just let me know in the chat as well. We are going to be covering the last episode on risk taking. So we have seen risk taking in the last 6, 7 episodes, angling to different walks of life, because emotional intelligence itself is applicable for any ages, any culture, gender, any location. On that bit, when I started the series, I dedicated this to working mothers, but then eventually I saw the need. There were a few questions, asked in the comments. I could understand it is coming from an career perspective, and it is also from a student and a professional, not just the working mothers or the stay-at-home moms. So emotional intelligence, it is becoming a 21st century highly demanded skill set. So the reason why we started this entire brain skill series is because we need to know how to equip ourselves, how to navigate and combat the present day challenges. It is more than what we expected or what we dealt in the few decades before, the era of few decades before. There's a huge difference, and one killer aspect is all of us have there is another extra limb with us, that we are using digital gadgets on our hands, not only to access, thanks to the technology, that we can access anybody in the world across anywhere. At the same time, there are huge pile of distractions happening everywhere, which is not only affecting the physicality, it is also affecting the emotional aspect to it. So that being said, emotional literacy is becoming even more important in education, in schools, in colleges, in for an adult as such. Gone are the days where we are, it's a taboo of talking about each of our deeper emotions. Um, these days, or it is even more important because again, gone are the days where we used to have deeper conversations even with a normal call, right? Even when we don't have a telephone or mobile those days, we'll be there out there for each other whenever we need it, right? Beautiful relationships like friendships or strangers becoming thick friends, and forming close relationship and even partnership in real life had happened because we exchanged deeper conversations and deeper insights. So that is being totally lost right now. We're all hooked up digitally, even though we have access to each other, but we don't connect with each other really well. On that note, it is important to learn emotional insights, not only emotional insights being one talent in emotional intelligence. As a mother of psychology, uh, there are a lot of talent subsets towards emotional intelligence. In essence, it is only becoming smarter with emotions. So in this series, we started off looking at resilience as one big key talent. So we saw how logical resilience matters and how emotional resilience can be developed, and what is a resilience level expected in for a an adult, for a parent, for an entrepreneur, for a leader, and for any walks of life. And then we switched on to proactivity, problem solving, critical thinking, emotional agility, empathy, decision making, risk taking. So here we are in the last episode of every talent. We go deeper and wider. So we cover around 6 to 7 episodes for each talent. It is that much required, right? Because when we are developing the awareness, it is important to go deeper and wider. and then pick up what we need in our day-to-day life and business. In essence, I would highly recommend you to go through the previous episode so you'll be able to connect, because you just cannot pick up one talent as essential for your success and move on. It is all a subset. So only with risk tolerance you just cannot define your success. So when you're working in your tolerance when you're building your tolerance towards risk, it is also something to do with proactivity. It is also something to do with planning and some agility in terms of understanding the emotional insights, logical data. There is a whole lot of components involved in for a person to be successful. But to make it short, very easy for you to grab it, there are two sides of brain for each of us, right? Both these sides are functionally they are functional at all times. It's just that we are not aware of it and we are not tapping into that um, power. So we use either of the sides very dominating based on our own habits and patterns. So for somebody could be very logically driven. It is becoming an innate quality for them to logically assess and identify, dissect every transaction and arrive at a solution. Somebody could be even using their logical brain to an extent that they become a scientist or innovate something really disruptive. There are other set of people where they use their intuitive brain a lot. That's their right brain. This is my right side, so I'm saying this is right brain. They are those people who can connect really well with people. The people skills is very natural for them. However, either of the people cannot discard either of the side. They just cannot say, I'm so intuitive, I don't want the logical data. Their success will not be objectively approached. So always remember, it is important to take a blend of both the logical brain and emotional brain. Find that mid space. That is where your emotional intelligence can happen. Why we call it as emotional intelligence is because using that intelligence to be able to drive those emotions. Not only the intelligence path is important, it is also that emotional insights is also important for you to handle. The reason why, because um, who has emotions? And not animals, right? It is only human beings. Now, where are the human beings? Okay, you may be asking, okay, I'm just an individual contributor in my company. Why would I need to know the people skills? Oh, hold on. We're talking about emotions, right? You are also a human being who will go through the emotions. So when you are not able to know what kind of emotions you are going through, how can you really be able to um, know other people's emotions? Let's say you are an individual contributor, you know about yourself really well. Now, do you have a family or not? Do you live with family or not? Do you behave with strangers or not? We're not in an island yet, right? Although the digital equipments are making us isolated, we just pick up our phone and constantly be with it. But eventually, you need to interact also, right? So, is it okay to erupt all the time? You need to have some self control, right? What kind of emotions can you hold back and what kind of emotions can you express is something that's very fundamental. A child below 6 years definitely express more than an adult. It just recedes away because of the education system and also the upbringing. So it is our primary responsibility as a parent, as an individual, to be able to exercise that particular emotional expression or emotional intelligence as such, which contains a lot of brain talents that we will be discussing in the series, to be able to pass it on to our next generation as well. So when they see you, because children observe a lot, they learn only through observation. If you are a parent, it is all the more important that you equip yourself, you behave in such a way that you're emotionally intelligent so your children can learn. And all these episodes will let you know what you're supposed to do when you are stuck in that kind of a situation, what kind of hacks that you can do. Um, so I would highly recommend you to subscribe to my YouTube channel in case you haven't yet, because you'll be notified whenever there is an episode coming in. And I'm also doing a podcast, like Audible podcast. It's not the YouTube one, on Spotify. Just in case you want to hear out without any presentation, just on the on the go, on the while, when you're in kitchen or when you're doing something else, just as a shorter version. It is available there. The same episode is available there on Spotify. So all the links are given in the description. Click that, register, and hang on. I've got some gifts also. I found some sincere learners, right, who are constantly watching during the EQ hours live and also the replays. Okay. For you, I definitely have something to give you. Beyond that, if you have any questions that you want me to address also, you can let me know in the comments. I definitely would appreciate that. Now, let's see what is it for today's episode. We are on episode number 78. Okay, we're going to be talking about how to move from fear to freedom, risk taking for personal growth. As an individual or as a business entrepreneur, everybody has a personal side to it, right? How are we going to embrace that? But essentially, what I want you to understand is if there is anything, one thing that's standing between you and the biggest breakthroughs, that could only be called as a fear. And fear is what? Nothing but a core emotion. Okay, so what if taking risks is the only key to unlocking your fullest potential for you to come out of fear? Just jump into action. Okay, that is how you're going to overcome your fear. That is what we will see by how we can, become risk tolerant. And in the previous episode, we saw who needs this most, and who has to use this more in their day-to-day transactions. We saw as an entrepreneur, we saw as a critical leader, and as a parent. Yesterday was an episode for parent, and today in a general note, and even different dimensions of life where we can apply. Okay, there could be something which is repetitive, there could be something which is new, and every episode has its own pressure. And the reason why I repeat certain principles commonly on every day is because these are fundamentals. The more we reiterate, imagine for the entire 100 days, if you start listening to the same kind of principles, your brain has actually started rewiring without your consciousness. Okay, so that is the only purpose of you to rewire to these brain skills. That is the only purpose of this episode. If that has happened, then that is my success. All right. So if you're a person who is stuck in a comfort zone, then this is for you. If you're a person who's stuck, not just stuck, and also afraid to take that one little step, you're not able to take that one decision, okay, then this is for you. If you want to build a growth, a life full of growth and success and freedom, you need to be able to gain uh, you should be a differentiator. And how can you be differentiator in this fast-paced, highly competitive world? You just have to learn these brain hacks. So keep learning, keep practicing. That is more important. If you learn and right after 24 hours, it's just going to be a yet another information because we are loaded with information only. The only secret for you to learn, I mean, practice what you have learned is to put that practice in next 24 hours. If that is so, then this episode is for you. We're going to be learning how to embrace risk taking to overcome fear and why growth doesn't happen in your comfort zone, and some real life lessons from Kiran Majumdar, inspiring journey. In case you do not know about her, she's a very famous global personality leading biocon, pharmaceutical industry, highly leading industry in India. It's a very, very important lesson that we must be aware of it. And it is intriguing for me to understand what could be the brain skills behind their success. So let's learn about it. So understanding risk taking for growth perspective. Every episode is angled towards different objective, and this episode is for growth. Defining stepping out of comfort zones to confront fear and uncertainty for personal development. That is the general understanding. But when it comes to left brain, logical brain, and right brain approach, because we are talking about brain skills and we have to address the left brain and right brain, right? The entire reason why this structure of this entire episode is aligned to in a way that we pick up keywords for you to necessarily tap into your logical brain or right brain. That is your emotional brain. Now, in this case, you may not be aware whether you are fully logical brain. Everything seems to be logical sometimes, right? Um, as per survey, a lot of Indians, their brain styles is more towards logical reason, logical brain. It is amusing for me to understand why are we tuned that way because of our ancestral. Hmm, maybe because of a lot of invasions, we started thinking a lot. But maybe if the same brain style would have been taken on our forefathers few centuries before, where there were no invasions, they were just full of wealth and abundance. Maybe it should be mainly with emotional brain because there are no much of distractions. They would have been fully naturally be available with nature and with people around, right? They were closely knitted with their family, close group, basically survival and prosperity, spirituality, growth, right? Uh, Ideally, they should have been tapping into that midbrain activity. And look at the innovations have happened. India is, our nation is full of surprises, full of treasure, right? Uh, Aryabhatta was the first mathematician, and somebody who invented the operation, right, with the needle and all that was from India. And look at the mathematician genius Ramanujan. And there are a lot of people who are genius, right? Prodigies. How have they used the blend of both their emotional insight and that of the logical derivation is something very amusing to see. But at this point of time, since we don't have much data about our forefathers, let us use what is available with us, and you will figure out how you can use AI. Using AI, how can you generate your own brain styles? And you will figure out what kind of brain styles that you have. Right at the end of this episode, you will know what are the ways that you can identify all that. It'll be a nice one to know once in a while. In fact, myself, my husband, and my community people, every year twice we take this brain styles to be able to know where we are standing, what are the present strength, and where are the areas of improvement. So this will definitely be a guidance for you to know your SWOT analysis, also to decide the career choices. In case a student who is watching or a career professional wanting to understand what is the future emerging trend, the market, job, and all that. Plus, what are your innate talents that you can make an alignment. If you are not aligned, if you are not a person who can code, your brain cell doesn't allow. Maybe you're very good with people. Then you might want to search for those kind of jobs, right? If you can align with your brain styles, that will be your core talent. And if you're always a person who is aligned with your core talents, then it is easier for you to make effortless, initiatives in your life. You don't have to fight with it. So that is a beautiful benefit if you have these AI psychometric, handy tools for you to practice emotional intelligence. There are no fluffs, right? Because how can you measure emotion with only tools? We just cannot measure in words. We can, of course, learn what are the words. There are about 3,000, more than 3,000 words for emotion itself. If I ask you, how are you feeling now? You may be struggling with one or two words only, right? All of us know fine, good, okay, and all that. In fact, those are all not emotion words at all. So what are the other emotion words is something that was a first step that I learned, and everybody has to learn. That's called emotional literacy. But beyond that, there are huge lot of factors towards how these emotions are driving our actions. And in turn, it becomes a behavior. And that is what is going to determine our ailments, physicality also. So it has a long way. Let's see what is the risk tolerance for how do you navigate from fear to freedom using left brain skills. It's going to give you logic to evaluate and plan calculated risk for long-term growth. Keywords here is using logic to evaluate and plan for long-term growth. The right brain approach will be trusting intuition and courage to take that bold steps, even with uncertain outcomes. These are keywords. So the key message here is how do you navigate from freedom to fear is to embrace risk taking as a means of personal growth and unlocking that potential, confronting challenge head on. Okay. Embracing that discomfort. Growth often comes when you step out of your comfort zone. So this lady just tearing and opening that entire, maybe there's a paper of wallpaper, but the action itself shows that she just tear open, um, and she's bold to face it head on. So that is the attitude that we have to have when you want to come out of your comfort zone, is when there can be a growth. I did an exclusive episode to have a growth mindset and to also how to come out of comfort zone, taking the risk taking as a skill. So please do watch that. Let's talk about some advantages of risk taking. Now, overcoming fear, conquering insecurities, and boost self confidence through risk taking. So, what are you going to do is there is a fear. That is what is stopping you. First, acknowledge, identify that fear, and then overcome. How do you overcome that? By taking that risk. So, that will be the advantage for you to overcome that fear. Then, risk taking can be self awareness practice for you. The more you start taking risk, you will understand where your strengths are. You will have a deeper understanding not just on your strength, also your flaws, your mistakes, and what are your values. Very, very important. There could be mistakes, there could be failures, but you will start thinking, right? Am I in the right position or not? You will constantly keep thinking, but sometimes you will keep repeating the same mistakes, and then you will figure out it is not about your talent or a skill. Maybe you're not in alignment. This is not you. So that is a beautiful learning. That's a deeper learning. So you will learn about your strength, your flaws, and your values also. So the flaws will let you know what are your improvement for growth. And then it builds the resilience in you. It builds ability to handle adversity and bounce back from setbacks. So we have done exclusive episode on resilience itself. So please, have a look at it. because it's going to give you a lot of insights down deeper and wider about resilience itself. And this is the most resilience is most important for women skill set demanded at this present situation. Please do so. I also have I have given some gifts during those episodes for you to build your resilience in 21 days time. So if there is, the link is still there, you might want to seize that opportunity. Then for you to find opportunity, new opportunity also for you, it is best that you take that risk. So when your boss sees that you're taking new initiatives, that is a new, that is a kind of a risk that you're taking, right? So you're going to get new responsibilities. And by the time you start handling those responsibilities, then you will get noticed. So that is a way to get high in your personal and professional life. So there could be some drawbacks also for somebody who's taking a risk. Now you see this lady is passing through the cliffs, not just by walk on the rope. Okay, this could be dangerous. Now, um, nobody has to go through this hurdle, this kind of hurdle to pass through any risk. Thankfully, there are no risks like this that we have to take. But essentially, what we are trying to see is because this is an AI generated, it could be dramatic. But fear of failure is one of the major risks that a person can take. But it is important to identify what kind of risk, and it has to be a calculated risk. If you and for you to take a calculated risk, you have to take the blend of left brain. Okay, that we will see in the next segments. So, but you need to understand the more wrong kind of risk that you're taking, it's going to affect your psychometrical, your emotional level. Okay, it's going to affect your um, memories. So the more you start facing the unwanted risks, the more you get into that traumatic effect, and it will be like an impression in you. So that itself is a fear, and it is when it is happening in the childhood, it cannot be easily revocable. It takes a lot of time. When even at 80 years, the same childhood trauma remains. So for you to reverse it, it takes a huge effort. So potential for temporary emotional and financial setbacks can also be noted. It could cause losses in terms of time, effort, money, resources, and people. So you need to be aware of what kind of risk you're taking and overcome that fear of failure. Increased anxiety. Obviously, all these constant, first of all, a person who's facing constant challenges may lead not only to stress, they'll reach out to exhaustion, burnout, if they are not able to organize themselves well. And one person cannot be in the firefighting mode all the time. It is not an ideal place. And then it also causes physical strain. Risk of exhaustion or burnout can happen in highly demanding areas. Potential losses, possible for tangible losses if risks don't succeed. And not always all risks are supposed to be succeeded. There could be something which is needed for you to fail, right? To be able to learn and do. And there are risks which are not, you just cannot turn it. So that we need to identify and then be able to reasonably take risk. Importance of this is, suppose you don't have it, you're going to stagnate because you won't take that step. You will remain stagnated and everybody else will bypass. And you will obviously lose opportunities for growth and achievement. Suppose you do take that step, you will definitely get into a change only. Change, of course, gives that anxiety, but then it gives new experiences, right? And self-awareness, it will increase your own status about yourself, your self-esteem. It brings you that confidence the next time when you want to take that, because now you already have an experience. And then that is how you come out of your limitations freedom. So you just get free from your limitations and from the stress. So this is the, one aspect of my mission. My mission is to help 1 lakh women achieve freedom using emotional intelligence so that they get freedom from time, debt, and emotions, stress. Statistically, also 20% have greater life satisfaction and 35% more likely to achieve goals for those who are taking risk. And for the rest of the people, stagnation, missing opportunities. Keywords. Who benefits? As an individual, yeah, those who are seeking personal benefit development, right? People who have a growth mindset. And professionals who seem to be aiming for different advanced careers by stepping out of comfort zones. And as an entrepreneur, innovators launching new ventures, accepting uncertainties. Then parents teaching children resilience by modeling risk-taking behavior. We did I did an exclusive episode yesterday or day before yesterday for parents itself. What kind of risk can you take as a parent? I mean, when we as a parent, right, we don't want to let go. That itself is something that if you do it, it's a biggest risk that you're taking. But you don't want to let go and wash off, with your children, right? So that is not the risk that we are talking. We are talking about smaller risk which can be managed, which can be calculated, and you can let your children grow in that. Let them sprout. Okay. So there are various ways, a lot of examples that we discussed. Please go through that if you are a parent, it will be useful. And then let's talk about applicability. Now, when it comes to applicability, where and all you can apply as an individual, the risk tolerance ability. First of all, career development risk. As a working professional, what is the risk that you will go through when you have career choices? First is pursuing leadership role, because accepting challenging management positions that stretches your capabilities. So that is the first thing that an individual contributor will go through, right? Because when you step into when you are in the corporate ladder, initially when you start with maybe a trainee, an intern, a trainee, a senior, an executive, and then senior executive, and then comes the team leader. That is when you will start handling people. Until such time, you will be an individual contributor role. Okay. So now the moment you step into that kind of management role, when you say you have to manage either projects, number of projects, or number of people in your project, is something that you have to learn. People skills is something that it'll be a stretch for you, an additional responsibility for you in that note. Now, for you to, after that, step into the next roles will become a managerial and a leadership role for clearly. So on that note, you might want to take, risk wherever it's possible. For example, you could volunteer for cross-functional. Okay. These are some, see, as a company, as a, every corporate will have their own, strategies to develop you as a leader during your performance review and your combination with your company policy and with your HR policy. There will be a lot of initiatives. Apart from that, you as an individual, what can you do? The best insights that I got when I was in corporate, like I'm talking about a decade before, even before all these LinkedIn, became very famous, or all that networking happened, I was asked to step out of the company and just barge in, do whatever you want, try to understand what are the policies available, and what are the projects, how are they running their projects. Can you just imagine, this is the dashing initiatives that my boss gave me. I was in an HR department, so they just allowed, wanted me to network. Okay, do whatever it is, just network. And now after LinkedIn came in, it was a very effortless thing that we can always connect with each other. And then social media just gave us the whole door of opportunities, right? Now it is the platform. Social media is the main thing for us to access. Even now, when you're watching this video, we are able to network in a different way, right? Right after this episode, you can always message me, and there our networking happens. So you need to understand every stage there is a risk, and when you embrace that without any fear, you're going to have a new experience. Now, when you switch industries, that could be a different shift. Okay, switching within the same industry, different companies could definitely be one risk, because it is an implication on your family in case you have it, because the new job could demand a new schedule or a new upskilling from your side. That could be a stretch for you. Or if you have a family and you're relocating for a better job offer, then your family has to be communicated, and everybody has to adjust for you. So every level you will have a risk. And for you to switch industries, whole lot of risk. Right now, AI is disrupting. And how well are you prepared to combat in the future changes? It's something that we have to train ourselves. It's very important to equip yourself. And then joining a startup. So somebody wants to just put a full stop to the corporate career and then switch to pivot to some other, either entrepreneurship or, join a venture. So trading stability for growth potential in an emerging company could also be one thing. Leveraging a corporate role to build a promising tech startup from the ground up. So that is another risk. You use your corporate experience to be able to start up something on your own. And a lot of people, digital entrepreneurship in world, a lot of people, uh, do a side hustle on a weekend. I'm just going to be giving you a lot of hacks in the next slides also. But all of us do this right now. It is the trend that we'll do a weekend side hustle. We build skills based on our passion or our ikigai, and then be able to get a holding stability in what we do on the side hustle, Then once we stabilize is when we even are ready to quit the corporate jobs. And there are a lot of people in my fraternity have done this. They have quit the corporate job forever, like 20 years experience, and then they are full-time digital, 100% digital entrepreneur, successful, profitable. All right, so then comes relationship risk. This is one of the um, key and important area of an individual, right? When there are life stages, different life stages, right? So especially when we are dealing with our partners, it is very important to be vulnerable, to be able to take that in kind of a right kind of initiatives. And these are all risks only. So let us discuss what are the risks that we can take for keeping up a relationship. One, it could be expressing vulnerability, sharing deep feelings and insecurities to build authentic connections. That itself is a risk. How many of us can boldly share our, what we think in our mind with your partner? One, there should be other metrics should be working for your conversation to happen. One, you should be really having a time for each other, and that willingness to listen to each other. All these said and done. Suppose you have all these metrics worked out. Beyond that, will you be able to showcase your vulnerable side? Now, what is vulnerable side is simply expressing what you feel like. So that itself is a risk right now, right? A lot of us hold back based on our own childhood experiences or our own brain styles for that matter. We hold back because we think too much. So we need to identify the source of it. But just simply, can you express yourself? Telling a partner how about your own fears or past painful experiences which have shaped you, is it even possible? If it is possible, then you have already taken that risk. Okay, you are risk tolerant. And of course, the other person has to receive it. That is another thing. But provided from your side, are you taking that risk? Then having that honest conversations always, especially with your partners. So addressing challenging topics rather than directly instead of avoiding conflicts. Now, if there is a challenging situations, most of the times we withdraw. We just escape from that. We don't want to get into deeper conversations because it could trigger something else from your side, right? And you don't want to express it out. You want to hold it back. Okay. Shedding a tear, touching your vulnerable core and shedding a tear is a very shameful act, but it is not so. It is quite the opposite. And suppose if you're feeling it hard, all you have to do, just remember is keywords like this: honest conversations. Just be honest. For every transaction, just be honest with your partners. Whatever you feel like and whatever has happened, whatever as it is, can you speak? That's the only thing that you have to remember. That is why, when we talk about the next series, I will be talking about values. So in that, you will see what are the best practices. So, examples of best practices. We call this as practice because these are not these cannot be categorized in values, in emotions, in habits or something like that. Okay, these are called practices. Being honest, being grateful, being kind, being generous. These are simple things that as a child we would have known, right? So we'll have to circle back. That is what is the foundation of life. So being honest is not just within, in your actions, but also in your conversations, especially with partners. So if you can, directly deal with head on whatever is it, then discussing different expectations about the future rather than argument alignment, assuming alignment is very, very important. For example, discussing different expectations about the future rather than assuming alignment. The reason why I put this example is there are keywords that you need to see here. First of all, we are talking about different expectations about the future. Okay, the future itself is a assumed one, and on which we are talking about expectations from each other, which comes from a likes and dislikes. And now there could be a lot of triggers in the conversation. As long as you are honest, if you can hold that honesty starting till the end, then it can protect you from, exploding or triggers, okay, each other. But if you cannot be, then you're going to assume this is what is expected. Okay, so a lot of times this is what we do. We just assume how it has to end, and then we, encourage that conversation. But essentially, we get disappointed. So it is important to have this kind of deeper conversation, open, honest conversation, and let it flow. It not every time it will get fixed. Not every time solutions can happen, but at least that deeper conversations would have impacted both of you. Then setting boundaries, clearly communicating your needs and limits to protect your well-being. Declining additional commitments when you need time for self-care. Very, very important. As an individual, self-care is important. Your self-happiness, self-me time is very, very important. Especially as a woman, we always worry about others and the me component is very less. Sometimes there could be individuals, their me component is very high. The others component is getting less. We see a lot of you know, personalities around us like that. Especially there is a generation gap. I'm talking about few decades, people who are born like, way ahead, their concentration, their focus, we were all always told about focusing on others. Just leave your emotions at the doormat. This is what we were told. But then the generation Z is totally different. People who were born after millennials, after the 90s and 2000, their approaches itself is very different. So there has to be a balance of me and others all the time. So setting boundaries is very important, not only for your emotional well-being, also for physical well-being. Then comes personal hobby risks. Now, it could be a risk that you are taking physical or mentally, right? I'll tell you, rock climbing can be physically strenuous, okay, but it gives you that achievement. And it also gives you that resilience because every time you face through any challenge, you just have to break through that. Then running a marathon, both physical and mental endurance, right? It definitely signifies that endurance levels. How much can you push every milestone? Then new art style, exploring creativity. This is your exclusive right brain activity. There are no physical strenuous, but mental abilities can be enhanced. Okay. Financial growth, okay, this is synonymous to risk. Investing in education as a person, where are all where you are spending money and what kind of risks can you take? Education. So when you want to allocate resources for your education, higher educations, like in terms of courses, degrees, certifications, which can enhance your marketable skills, that is a good risk that you're taking. And when you want to start a side business, I just told you, it could be a weekend side hustle. You can just start consulting, a one-on-one consulting on your weekend. And then, if on your own professional expertise or your passion or your talent, extra talents that you have, by the time you have stabilized in your passion and if you can turn the passion into profession, then you might want to quit doing and start that business as a full-time business. So that could be one risk. Okay. But right now, right after pandemic, the world has changed and a hybrid model of working from home has happened. A lot of people are trying a lot of ventures. Then diversifying investment. So when I talk about risk, I just cannot go without mentioning about investments, right? Because that is where we see the highest risk. We need to be able to spread across financial instruments, a variety of financial instruments to maybe able to balance the potential growth with risk protection. Diversify your eggs, golden eggs. Don't just put everything in one basket. It could be with different funds, bonds, and targeted retirement accounts. And then comes self-expression risks. Now, this is also this is individual, right? Individually, we may have a lot of fear about what is something that we have to, see and apply. Individually, you don't like to speak publicly, openly. Right now, there is, gadget for you, Insta Live or YouTube Live, like what I'm doing, or even just put a video out there or poster out there. That gives you a platform for you to express. Okay, so we are all equipped with that. A lot of people coming on YouTube and earning money as well. But when you are sharing your ideas with a larger audience to build confidence and establish you as a thought leader, that is where you go in search of a bigger platform. So that's what is the public speaking platforms, and public speaking is considered as the second biggest fear in the world after death. Okay. So you can volunteer to present an industry conference despite your fear of public speaking as an individual, working professional, or as a student. But nowadays, there are a lot of platforms like Tech Talks, a lot of shows. You can always subscribe. They are ready to collaborate. And if not anything else, just pick up your phone, start speaking. Creative writing, when it comes to personal stories, unique perspectives through written works, that develops your authentic voice also. That is also a thought leadership marketing skills through your words. You can start a blog or, maybe a book, wherever your words can be highlighted. Okay. Then performance art. So showcasing your talents through music, dance, theater to overcome the self-consciousness and connect with others. Absolutely. In fact, kids who are shy, just put them out there to perform. So, slowly it'll be a fear, trauma. I mean, before turning into trauma, you just have to break through that fear with a lot of strategies. With your work with the team, they'll slowly break out the resistance. So, joining an amateur theater production or open mic night in your community, based on their talents, if they are good in singing, if they are good in any musical instruments, or talking about a particular topic, or showcasing their art skills, anything which can help them break through that initial resistance, can definitely help them break through that stage presence. Now, last but one segment is about actionable steps. Now we saw the importance of it, we saw the applicability of it. Let's talk about how are you going to action that using your brain hacks. Okay, it's a shortcuts. What are you going to do is you're going to learn what are the hacks for your left logical brain and what are the hacks that you have to tap into your emotional brain. And sometimes both the brain's activities are also there. So I'm going to let you know, and then accordingly you can use. You're going to start small if you want to tap into your left brain. Speak up in meetings. If you're a working professional, just stand up and speak about your opinions or whatever views you have. That will be the first step. Share ideas in a small group settings. It's not going to be a big loss. Nobody is going to, judge you big, right? Then lead team projects. Take on more responsibility within familiar context. If you're a working professional, you can do so. If you're an individual, if you're an entrepreneur, I don't have to say anything. Just come online, just make networking, or go in person, talk to people, shake hands. So that itself will let you come out of the fear. And then present to departments, other departments, cross-functional, right? Increase the audience size slowly. That is for a working professional. And for individual, the more you network with your like-minded community, it could be from the passion stream of line or from your own profession expertise or something random, right? The more you network is when in your own neighborhood is these could be hacks, but you're going to start small, which can be managed. Then reframing failure. Okay, this is your right brain. So it's a mental activity, but what you're going to do is you're going to view all the setbacks as chances to gain valuable insights. Okay, you're going to just reframe that little voice which always comes as a negative voice. Just tell them, in case if the voice is telling you it's a failure, you don't try it and all that. Okay, if I don't try it, how will I learn? Just change it as an opportunity. Then feedback mechanism. Use failures to refine approaches and strategies. Now, how are you going to use this? What could be the feedback mechanism? Your own failures can be, an insight for you to refine. The past mistakes can always be a data point for you, either your own past mistakes or other people's past mistake. The smart way is learn from other people's mistake. And that is why a case study is given for every episode. It is not only the mistakes, it is obviously the brain behind it, the skills behind it we are going to learn. But in and around you itself, you can find out. If you have the similar friends, you will know what kind of mistakes they've done and what you should not do. And then growth catalyst, recognizing how overcoming failures can lead to personal development. Then again, a right brain activity where you're going to visualize. A lot of us fear because we don't spend our time and focus our brain into visualizing the positive outcomes. We always fear, what is going to happen now? What will happen if I take this short-term pain? What is going to be my long-term gain is something that you can always, just a matter of visualizing. I don't say it's a dream because dream comes without a logic behind it. But if it is a visualization, you're going to put a lot of, numbers to it, a lot of thought and energy and focus to it. Okay, some visualization can happen even with a picturic, representation and timelines. So everything is a validation when you visualize. Okay, so it's called a mental rehearsal, imagining a successful outcomes in details before taking risks. Positive affirmations can also help you have that self-talk. And vision boards create visual representations of goal to stay focused. Seeking guidance and support will be a both the brain. Let's see how it is. Now, seeking mentors, seeking advice from experienced individual in your field is your both the brain activity. I always suggest have a mentor for each and every dimensions of life, whether it is health or it is finances, it is business, relationship, anything personal development. Have a mentor. The reason why is not many of us have our own family or our own, friends who can guide us in an appropriate way. to be able to answer rightly at the appropriate time. But if you seek mentors who have walked through that path, then the outcomes are so very, expertised, that they're going to be accountable for your success, right? Because you're paying them, and every client is a treasure for them to handle, because they look out for success in clients. So that way, their advice is going to be the subject matter advice, and also